Good afternoon, everybody. I'm Bhavna and I'm from Artisan Rico and back once again with a new maker this week. Um, I'm going to try and invite Naomi, and while I do that, I will also give you an update on who we are. If you bear with me just for a moment. I've got Naomi here, and let's see if she's able to join or not. Oh, I think it's still telling everybody we're going live. It'll be great if you have the time. Join us. My name is Bhavna and I am from Artisan Rico. We are a social enterprise and we work with artisans and makers, and we help. Before I give my introduction, here we go. Go live with it. Just waiting for Naomi to join and then I'll start again. Hello, good afternoon.
Hi.
How are you?
Lovely to see you.
Lovely to see you too. How are you?
I'm great, thank you. I've just been for a nice frosty walk.
It's quite cold today, I have to say. I mean, it's not been too bad, but today and I think yesterday it's been really freezing, which is nice. I like cold.
Better than the wet, rainy, windy, horrible weather we've been having.
And I have that all the time.
You are in Edinburgh.
Yeah. It could have been Glasgow, it could have been worse. With the
Oh,
but it is. But thank you very much for joining. So I'm Bhavna and I'm from Artisanry. We are a social enterprise and we work with small independent makers and artists, and we help them with business development and marketing content sort of things. And on a more commercial side, we've got an online sales platform. And if you haven't been on it yet, please come and have a look at it. We've got some very, very talented makers, right from across the panel, jewelry to furniture makers and various other people. So please do come have a look at our talented people. And we are probably the only social enterprise in this space. So quite a unique business model for what we do. And today we've got Naomi with us. Naomi, thank you very much for joining. You're a jeweler, so tell us a bit about yourself.
yeah, thank you. Yep, I'm a jeweler. I'm based down in Devon. I make nature-inspired jewelry, mainly from silver, but with some gold embellishment, just to bring out that detail. And I make it all from real leaves or fossils or flowers, so it's totally unique. Each piece is totally unique to the flower or fossil or leaf that I use.
So do you,
Although I've changed a little bit at Christmas, just to interrupt you there. Sorry, I've got a few stars, but hey, there are stars in the sky, so I think they count. They count.
you can't believe for it, but I am really interested. I mean, when you say you do use leaves and various things from nature, how do you use that for your work? And is it silversmithing that you do, or is there a different way of jewelry making?
There is, yes, yeah. So it has elements of silversmithing. I do soldering and things like that. I'm just learning that, but I use a material called precious metal clay. So thank you for reminding me. It's this amazing material. It's a bit like plasticine. So when you're a kid playing with plasticine, you know how it's all malleable and you can shape it how you want it. So I use that. So it comes in clay form or a liquid form. And so with leaves, I often paint. Yeah. So you can paint it onto a leaf, which is just incredible. It takes a lot of patience, and it's not quite as simple as you might think, but it's wonderfully cathartic. So you paint it onto a leaf, many layers, or you imprint a leaf into the clay and then you burn it off, and it has this binder in it which you burn off with a blowtorch. I've got a kiln these days, but blowtorch is so much more fun, and it leaves 99% pure silver, fine silver. It's just incredible. Yeah, and what I really love about it, it contains, one of the manufacturers, the one that I use is made by Mitsubishi, and it contains silver from the computing industry and other industries, the film industry and things like that. So it's recycling those materials and reusing them, and allows me to make fantastic recycled jewelry.
That is bizarre. I mean, I know you've told me before, but I just cannot get my head around it. So when you say you have a kiln, like a proper kiln that a ceramist would use, is that what you use?
Yes, yep. So it's quite a small one, much smaller than a potter would use. I'm showing you. I'm just trying to show on this screen. Yeah, it's quite tiny, but I can fit about 20 pieces in, depending on the size. And I fire things for about 3 hours, up to about 900 degrees, just before the point of silver melting. And that really means that you've got a good strong fix for the silver, because the binder has it just to get technical for a moment, because I think it's fascinating. So it has these silver particles in and if you burn it for a short time at too low a temperature, they just move a little bit together, and it can leave a piece of jewelry a little bit fragile. So I hold it for 2 hours, hold it for 2 hours at a high temperature, and it brings the particles together to give it a really strong finish. It's amazing. And the blowtorch is quicker because obviously it has a higher burn temperature. It's like magic.
But is this material made for this purpose? You know, this.
Yeah, it's relatively new. It came out in the late 80s, 90s. So there's not, I mean, it's more popular now, and more people are becoming sort of aware of it, I suppose. But I know it's only recently really picked up, because it is just so amazingly flexible in what you can do with it. So you can do traditional silversmithing with it once you've burnt the piece off. So I solder, you can cut, bend, hammer it into shape, albeit quite gently. But you can do other things like I do, taking an imprint of a leaf and just getting that amazing detail that you might not otherwise get. It's just truly incredible. And who doesn't love burning stuff?
Absolutely. Oh, yes. So do you print before or after? After the kiln or before the kiln?
Sorry?
Do
I imprint it first?
Before or after it goes into the kiln?
Before. So all the work I do happens before the kiln. Once it's been in the kiln, it's much harder to work with. You can fix things, but it's much more like silver then, and gets a bit more tricky. So that's where the silversmithing skills come in, because then once it's burnt, then you do more traditional silversmithing work. But yeah, everything happens before that. So it takes quite a lot of processing time. So not only do you make the piece, you have to sand it, or I spend a lot of time sanding, because the more perfect you get it before burning it, the better, the less polishing and sanding afterwards. Putting all the embellishments on, you can do afterwards, but it's easier to do before. You can't burn gemstones into it. Not a lot of gemstones will tolerate the heat, have that heat tolerance. And because there's a shrinkage rate to PMC, so it can shrink up to 15% in the kiln. So you have to take that into account. So with a gemstone, that could shrink it out of the setting. So I'm playing with that at the moment, trying to work out how to do gem setting so I can offer that service, because who doesn't love gems?
And how did you get into this? I mean, how did you get into jewelry making? I know you know, you're relatively new to it, so how did you get into it? And the other question was, did you do a course for this, or was it just something up on the way?
Yeah, that's a really good question. So I'm not a trained jeweler. That's a good reminder. I've been making jewelry for about 10 years. I started off, as many people do, with beading things, which I love. I moved into beading semi-precious stones, and I still love doing that. But then I did this 3-hour day course in precious metal clay about 5 years ago, and I was just hooked, absolutely hooked, because it was so magical. It was like being a child again, and being able to do all the things you're told not to, you know, burning stuff. Actually, it was amazing. Getting to play with your hands in a way that I don't think other things allowed me to do. So I come from a nature conservation background. I worked in nature conservation for well over 20 years, ended up in the civil service, which was great, but it wasn't for me. It stopped my creativity, and I was in middle management. I never talked about nature, and I never got to really use my creative side, or not in the way I wanted to anyway. Creative project management is fun, but not for me. And so when I did this course, it sparked something in me. It took me 5 years, mind you, to get to the point where I felt confident enough to launch my business. But I was really lucky. I got the chance to leave on voluntary redundancy. And it gave me that little push. I was quite ill as well. It gave me that push I needed to go, I know what I'm going to do. This thing makes me happy.
I'm going to.
So yeah.
I think we
So did it.
life, don't we, sometimes, and with the right push, you're able to do the right thing. So a 3-hour course became your full-time job.
Yes, I had a very good teacher, and I took 5 years. But I think when I started, so I've been going almost a year now, almost a year to the day, which is wonderful, amazing. It's taken a while to pick up, and I've learned so much. But yeah, I spent that last 5 years just playing with this material and learning what it could do and learning what I wanted to make with it. I've done a lot of reading. I'm a big reader. And I couldn't find other courses or other people doing what I wanted to do. I found a few now, which is great. Social media is a wonderful thing. But yeah, I just spent lots of time playing, essentially, because that's so important, and learning a lot more. I did do a silversmithing course for 1 term, I have to confess, which gave me some tools, things like soldering and things like that I could learn. But yeah, that's it, essentially. I still feel a bit like an interloper, but after a year, I'm getting there.
It's a challenging one to be able to change our career, and so dramatically as you've done. It takes a lot of mental strength, I think, more than anything else, to have the courage and the belief and to wake up every morning and remind ourselves that we can do it. It is absolutely, it's a very scary prospect, but well done on doing it and continuing in a year now, almost a year to the day, as you said. So really, really pleased. So where do you see yourself growing with this? I mean, where do you think this will go for you? Or where would you go?
Yeah, that's a really good question. I'd like to learn a few more complex techniques now. Like I say, I'm learning gem setting at the moment. And I love learning from the community, actually, around me and watching other people do things. But I would like to develop my collections. I'd like to develop collections. That's the thing I've learned in my first year. It was all a bit scattergun, but that's great. It's allowed me to learn an awful lot. So develop some more solid collections. Build on that nature theme. So nature is really important to me. It's at the heart of everything I do. I love jewelry, but nature, being sustainable, being environmentally aware, educating people through my jewelry about the wonderful nature we see around us, that's really key. So I want to develop that side of it a lot more. And I want to develop a rhythm with my jewelry so that it's as seasonal as nature is, so that people can kind of choose something that connects them with the seasons. And mental well-being as well. Sorry, I keep talking.
No, go for it. Sorry, you were saying the well-being. I'll let you continue.
Okay. I mean, that's the other thing, as you know, but the audience probably doesn't. I'm training to be a counsellor as well, so I'm completely changed everything in my life. But I want to bring those two things together because yeah, I spent quite a lot of time in the last few years not very well and just emotionally drained, and making jewelry has reignited my passion for life as much as anything, and that nature element of it. And I want to bring that to other people because I wear my jewelry as a bit of a talisman, I suppose. So when I'm out and about and going about my life, I've got something natural on, and it sort of reminds me of the peace and well-being that I get when I'm outside. So I want to bring those two things together a little bit more, and perhaps offer people work, not work. That would be nice if I get to the stage where I can offer people work, but experience days and things like that to help them create their own pieces with that in mind, their own reminders and talismans of life in the wild that they can take with them.
So you hope that at some stage you will be able to start offering some experiences, some classes. And do you think you're going to wait until COVID is past, or are you going to take the plunge in the new year and just go for it?
Oh, there's a question. Ideally, I'd wait until COVID passed, but I think we're past that stage now, aren't we? So I'm going to have to rethink it. Yeah. So what I'd love to do is take people walking with me and to choose their own pieces of material. I can explain, I know a lot about plants. I'm an ecologist, you know, I can tell them about the natural history of a plant, its meaning. I'd like to be able to share that with people so they can choose what speaks to them and then bring
You've
it back
lost
to a
Naomi.
workshop and make it. Yeah, it would be, so I need, yeah, but I think I could do that online actually. You've got me thinking. People could probably still participate in that kind of activity.
I think the walks you can anyways do. I mean, once the, you know, that tier of lockdown is over, you can still meet outside for walks, can't you? And I suppose if you were to do in bubbles, you could possibly still do, I don't know how much space you have in your house. And if you're willing to open your home to a few people, you know, almost like a mother and daughter bubble, or, you know, a husband and wife bubble, or something like that, you know, for experience for birthdays and anniversaries and that sort of thing. And yeah, you could potentially, I mean, there is definitely a business potential there where you could develop. And, you know, our research shows that experiences is an absolute must as a revenue stream for any small business. You know, like I said, it helps you connect with people as well, and especially because you work in isolation most of the time. So it's pretty key to bring that element if you're happy with people, and if you can, to bring into your life, both for a steady income and also for a bit of social aspect of what it gets for you. So I suppose you could think, you could share, you should think about it. That sounds like a fantastic idea.
Yeah, thank you. That's a, yeah, you've given me something to think about there, definitely. And I think it is, hadn't thought about the income stream. It's more about sharing a passion, but I guess I need to get a better business head on.
Well, you know, you have that somewhere because you've done it for so long, and it's only a matter of sort of wearing two hats and one at a time, and thinking it through. And I'm sure you've got it in you to be able to figure that out. And it's a fantastic idea. Have you ever thought of working with children? With you know, just because you say the whole you know, of the material that you use is almost like plasticine, and working with hands is such a great stress buster. So just as a thought, is that something that you hope to do, or is it just something I'm talking out of nowhere? I'm just curious.
Wow, and I'm trying to stop my instinctive reaction of no.
Okay, all natural. Yes.
I don't have children. They slightly scare me. I've said that now in public, in public on Instagram. But actually, it's a really good idea because I think kids would get a lot out of it. Because sometimes when you make something when you're a kid, it's the destroying it that really breaks your heart, isn't it? So they could capture it in silver. I think that's a really, I hadn't thought about that, but there's a lot of potential there, definitely.
I think, you know, together with your counseling background, and sorry, this is coming from total, from where I stand and see my 14-year-old struggle with her mental health. Uh, you know, the fact that you have that counseling training and then you do something, a craft with your hands, that's sort of age group where they, you know, where they can be trusted with a blowtorch, or to some degree, when I say trusted, under supervision. The idea that they can work with their hands and actually produce something at the end of it might be a very, very, very interesting line to explore as well. Something.
I like it.
Yeah, I think so. I mean, as artisanry, we are looking at that line of work, and we are trying to see if we can work with makers to provide that service in senior schools across the country. It's a very ambitious plan at the moment, have no money for it. But something that I would like to pursue in about a year's time, and see how we can engage with, you know, people like yourself, especially somebody like yourself with a background in counseling and a craft, and you know, the impact of craft on mental health is just tremendous, and bring both of it together in the community and actually take, you know, art and craft back to the heart of everything that we do, you know, help the young people through the stresses and to the stress of actually growing up. Anyway, that's for another time.
It is, but I love the idea because I'm really passionate about, and I've talked with you before, artisanally, about the creativity and how in schools we're told not to be creative unless it's a very narrow window of creativity. If you can draw, it's okay, or if you can be a drama student, it's okay, but you're not given free rein to do whatever it is that you want to do. And I think that's really bad for people. I loved science, and that was my passion when I was that age. But had I had a balance with art, the two things do come together. So I do love that idea of reigniting an expression and creativity in young people and giving them an outlet. Definitely, anybody, in fact, giving anybody an outlet.
I would think so. So hopefully in about a year's time, we will put together something, and we can do it across the country in different schools, and, you know, start working with young people's mental health charities to see if we can provide this service for them. It will be quite a feat, something to look forward to.
I'll definitely be there with you.
Absolutely. I'm sure you'll be the first one I'll come and ask, other than potters, because I think that's another, that's stuff which is really, really interesting. But having said that, you know, I think everybody's so different. It's about giving freedom, as you said, and not just restricting them to say, you know, just because you need to get a job at the end of the 18th year, you know, you can still be creative. So
Absolutely. I did many evening classes in all sorts of different things before I landed on jewellery, and each one of them has enriched my life. I've met people, I've learnt different techniques, but everything informs how you think. And if you're indulging in your creative side, that helps you better at your job if you're focused on work and producing people for work, because it gives you a way to think laterally, out of the box, come up with ideas, be confident in yourself. There's so much it brings that is all about jobs creation, if we're going to go down that kind of little narrow tunnel.
yeah, I would agree. But I suppose the most important thing is for everybody to be happy before they have a job. You know, there's no point having a job.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that should be my baseline starting point. Definitely. And if not happy, content. At least content.
We are digressing from your jewelry, completely digress. Show us a few pieces of your jewelry. How about that? And we get back on track. I've seen a few pieces, but I've really never seen them. As in, I've never seen them, and I've never touched or held one of them. But it'll be good to see them a little bit up front on the camera and see what they look like.
Okay. So this is part of my new collection. I love a dangly earring. They've got little stars. And you can't quite see it, but I mean the little stars, and they've got a leaf imprint on them. Oh, it's really hard to show you. I'll get you a bigger one in a moment.
You take the chain out of that eco silver thing, the polymer clay, or what do you call it? PMC, EMC?
No, I didn't. No, I didn't. Chain is one thing it can't make, so I do buy in the chain. Oh, the embarrassment.
All right, you had me shocked there. I said, oh my God, you did taking it to a completely new level. But wait, I'm sure you'll find a way to do it at some stage.
I'm sure I will. You see, you've embarrassed me now, so I will.
Sorry.
So, yeah. Oh, yeah. So there's a little star here with the gold center. This is totally just an indulgence project because I love sparkles at Christmas time. And it's so depressing at this time of year.
Oh.
It's so dark and stars, but this is a bit more in theme. So it's
that's I can see that. Just look back at it. Perfect.
That's it. So it's 3 stars with leaf imprint on them.
Wow.
A vein from a sycamore leaf and a labradorite gemstone, because I thought that added a bit of sparkle. My boyfriend says this looks like the Batman symbol. So, hey, if you want to think naturally, it's like a Batman symbol. Yeah, so that's a new part of my collection. And I
incorporate the gold in it now. I mean, you said you do use a little bit of gold. So how do you incorporate that in your silver work?
That's a really good question. It's I buy cast grain. So the center of this piece is a little grain, wrong way around, a little grain of gold.
Yeah.
And it's usually what people would melt down into making into other pieces of jewelry, but I insert it into the clay before firing, and it fires in the clay. It can often become dimples, but I like that effect. It really sparkles. Or in the case of, I'm starting playing with some ring designs. This has a layer of gold on it, which again comes in a liquid form, and I brush it on and I burn it off, and it's 22 karat gold. It's incredible. So
I didn't know what gold in liquid form. Oh my God.
I know, it's amazing, isn't it? So you can just about see that. So this is an oak leaf ring, soon to be up on the Artisanerie Co site when I have a moment to breathe in between Christmas orders. But yeah, and embellishing it with gold is a joy. So again, I do male cufflinks. Male cufflinks? That sounds really odd. I do cufflinks for men or women. These ones, I'll put that one down. It's really hard to get it, isn't
Yeah,
it? Into
but I do like
but it,
things. They're really lovely. I've seen these before. Yeah. Oh,
yeah, they are very textured, and I use a lichen from a tree. So when we had a storm back in the summer, I went around the local park and I picked up all the branches that had lichen on them. So lichen is that sort of mossy-like growth on trees that comes in oranges and greens and can be quite leafy or textured. And I took an imprint of it and I put it into the silver, and I've added a little gold bead into this because they have fruiting bodies that can come up and grow in a big sort of circular. When I say big, this is microscopic stuff, but into like a matchstick shape. So I thought that was really reminiscent of the lichen fruiting body and the texture, and I just thought it was unusual because I love lichens. They're amazing.
that is
I thought.
something. Do you do cufflinks for women as well?
Well, yes, absolutely. Men, women, children. I don't know why I said for men. I wear cufflinks with a cufflink shirt. So absolutely, and I do different styles of cufflinks. So I do oak leaves.
Oh, I do like that one. I remember seeing that when I thought, oh, that's nice. I only, because, once upon a time when we used to go into the office, when the cufflinks for women used to be quite a tricky one to find. The nice ones, you would find them in very standard shops, but, they weren't as funky and nice as you would get for men. So that's why I was quite interested when I saw you done that. But I don't see myself ever going back to a double cuff shirt again, ever. So,
Only for fun. Only for fun.
but I'll have to find a different way of using them. But I do love that oak leaf design on it.
Yeah, I love this one as well. It's just I have to say this is one of my favorites. It's got ammonites in it.
Oh yeah, that. No, I still go with the oak leaves. I absolutely love them.
Yeah,
Absolutely brilliant.
I'm brilliant. I'd like to explore other leaves. So talking about what women might like, what leaves would you like? An oak leaf, quite chunky.
But that's why I like it. I mean, I don't wear jewelry at all. I mean, I do wear a couple of rings, but
Sure, horror.
but no, nothing at all. I'm still looking to get myself earrings made because I've worn hoops all my life, and my last set of hoops broke, and I still haven't quite gotten around to sorting them out. But I don't wear jewelry. But like I said, once upon a time when I used to wear shirts, I used to really love wearing cufflinks because that was almost, I didn't even wear rings that time. So it was almost the only thing that I would wear. But I'll figure out what else could you use cufflinks for. Maybe you should do buttons or something. It would be so nice to have a couple of nice silver.
A nice idea. I like that. Yeah,
Actually,
buttons or buttonholes and things.
that might be quite a nice idea.
I like it. Well, I have made a few brooches actually for as commissions.
Oh,
and I keep
buttons. I do.
don't
No, I don't like brooches at all.
well, I don't think I liked brooches, but I made so I'm just going to show. I make key rings, but I made a brooch from the sycamore helicopters, and it was a double one, and it was really quite elegant. I thought actually this is something different. When I think of brooches, it reminds me of old women wearing quite pastiche false gemstone pieces, on their scarves and things. But it was very simple and elegant, and it was a young woman I made it for, and apparently they're making a bit of a comeback. And I suppose it's a bit like a cufflink, but something you can wear on your jumper without having to actually wear, or a buttonhole.
Come to think of it, there is a point that you can wear it with your scarf. And
yes,
quite nice, and something that if it wasn't as big and chunky, it would be quite nice, as delicate and small. So that's a new one that you need to do. You need to go and do some buttons now. I am going to look forward to it. It's interesting. I do.
I'm writing that down. It's for women. Definitely. No, it's a really good idea. I love that because there's a real renaissance in things like crocheting, I think, at the moment, isn't there? And so you could buy silver buttons to embellish your crochet or your hat or your
Yeah, but
band or things like that.
yeah. Oh, well, that wasn't a bad chat after all. I mean, we've come up with three different things you could do. God, I hope you brought.
I'm going to be busy. That's what I love about this. And you're right. Earlier, you talked about working in isolation, and one of the things I found is I loved my last year, but the thing I have most missed about working in an office is just talking to people. And I do talk to people outside of work, but I don't really know any makers, and that's one thing that Artisanry Co does bring. It's that kind of connection with other makers, those conversations. It really it makes you feel like a normal human being, that you're not the only odd person sitting in a workshop for hours and by yourself. But it also gives you this spark something by looking at other people's work, by talking to other makers. It really helps your creative process. It really gets you thinking outside of the box and laterally, and that's amazing. I love that. And so thank you. I love the platform that you have, because it does offer that. It's very unusual to get that through a sort of a sales platform. I know it's more than that, but that's one of the biggest benefits.
No, thank you very much for saying that. I mean, I think that is what we started when we started to set up. That is what we always said, it was to break the creative boundaries. And you should be able to, I mean, you've spoken to Carl, and that, brought in a new business idea and totally different fields, but very much similar situations and circumstances. And I think that conversation is really important. I think it's taken COVID for us to remember that we need to be kinder to each other, and we need to have an honest and just a nice relationship with people outside of our own inner circle as well. It's just so important. I think the more we are in the isolation, the more it makes us remind that.
Yeah, absolutely. And that connection with made products. So again, COVID has reminded people that buying something, and I know this isn't quite what we're talking about, but buying something is really, you can consider where you get it from, the provenance, the idea that somebody's made it with love and that it's unique, and that there's a story behind it and a person behind it who has their own story and passion to bring to it. I think COVID's reminded people of that, and I've really seen that support in the sort of general population for makers and unique, beautiful items. And they're really thinking much more carefully about where they spend their money. And so if they can come to somewhere like your platform, Artisan, it's not just yours, I'm part of it, of Artisanry Co, where it's got a social enterprise element, where it values that connection with people and that realness. There's so much more to buying that product. You're investing in something huge. It's amazing.
I would agree. I think, I would agree anyways, because I run it. But I do find the idea of a social enterprise absolutely fascinating, and have for a long time. Coming from financial services, it couldn't be more different from my own background. But I loved the idea of being able to connect back to the community and, to be able to give back rather than form a company where only a few profited. Here, everybody gets a little bit extra and everybody's happier. And strangely enough, I've been on a networking event for the last couple of days, which is Social Enterprises UK. And I was listening to Timson's. And they are not a social enterprise, but they run as a social enterprise model. The Timsons, the shops with key cutting and all. It is absolutely amazing to listen to the man. And he's a young man. He's not, must be early 40s, 50s. What an incredible business. And I thought, if more businesses ran like that, what an amazing world we would have. There'll be less selfishness and more give and take. So I do feel really privileged, really proud to be able to, to run this platform, which is on a social enterprise model, which is a social enterprise, and where we as a business model give back into the community our profits and help with the development. And just on that note, I've said to you before, we are launching new services next God, that is almost a month away, isn't it now? Good Lord, in fact, the year ago. So
disappeared.
I Yeah, somebody said 250 days today since lockdown. Can you believe that?
Oh my God. Oh, I have to let that sink in. That's just,
Yes, I would.
wow.
Well,
That's,
that
yeah.
that's just 100 days short of 360. You know, just about 100
That
of.
is, yeah. Gosh, that's quite sobering. That is quite sobering.
It is, and
Mm.
yeah, we live in a strange world. So in January, we've decided to take our services to the next level, and we are going to start providing business development, business mentoring, business coaching, more bespoke training, whatever is needed for people to become better at the IT side of work. Everybody says to me in the community, "Oh, I hate the IT," and I keep saying to people, "You guys are creatives. You need to love IT, and it's going to, it's going to become a dawdle in the park." So we are going to bring more trainings to help you get to that place where you tell me, "Oh, Canva, not a problem. I can do that with my." And you know what? You can see my creativity in it right through and through. And I'm waiting for a day when we can, turn around and change your mindset just with the training, with the help, and, with the community support that you have. So in January, we'll launch these programs and we will see where we go with it. And that's going to be a paid service that we will have, but the community will get a huge discounted price. We'll let everybody or anybody buy it. But if you're a part of the community, if you sell on the platform and contribute towards the profits, then we will be very, very pleased to give it to you at about 30-40% off, so that you don't have to shell out a lot of money, but be able to get the training that you probably avoid getting it most of the time. And one of the reasons you tell yourself in your head, "Oh, it's too expensive, it's too far, it's not going to work for me." So if that was to come in, Naomi, what do you think about it? Do you think, is that something that might interest you at all?
Oh my God, yes. Yes, 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 yes. Anything that makes helps me learn. So when I started my business, it was I came from the civil service. I'd worked in charity sector. I did not have much business savvy, and I'd never used social media. It's been a massive learning curve, and I wish I so I wish I'd had the support of something like you just mentioned at the start, but also now, because you develop so far, don't you? But then you don't know how to push beyond what you've achieved. So I can do some of the basic stuffs on social media, and with Canva, and with my accounts. If you could make my accounts fun, I think, yes, that would be the ultimate goal for me, if you can make my accounts fun. But yeah, definitely, I think that sounds like an amazing idea. And having the rest of the community that you can dip into to help you with that, because we all have different skills, and seeing how other people use it is really inspiring. So I love that idea, and I love what you've been doing so far. I've learned so much from you guys.
The creative connections that we've started doing with other makers, I think that's been really, I found it quite inspiring. One, it gets you to know other people in totally different parts of the world. And it just brings this depth of knowledge from another person who's been in your position, has done differently, and you go away thinking, "Oh, maybe I should try that as well." So I'm quite proud of that particular program, and I think that's doing really well. And perhaps in the new years, you need to take the reins and take some of the other sessions with some of the other makers yourself. Be on the other side, and
Love it.
yeah, I think you'll enjoy it very much. Coming up to, we've had a few people who've joined. Maybe you want to just say a very quick hello, and then we'll have a last few bits of chat and then close up.
Great. Yeah, it's so, I don't know where the time's gone. It's been so much fun. So hi everyone, I'm Naomi. I work, no, I've lost my ability to talk. I'm sorry. I'm Naomi of Naomi Brookes Designs. I've got to figure out a way of saying that better. And I'm nature inspired silver jewellery from my little workshop in Devon, which I love doing and have been doing for nearly a year. I'm just going to say that again, because it's wonderful. I've been doing it for nearly a year. It's incredible.
Do you know what is very interesting is, of the year that you've been doing, through 250 days have been spent in lockdown.
Yes, I know. It's been an interesting time. So I've almost been going a year, but I have to say I didn't really kickstart properly until about the end of January this year. I kind of started to put lots of things into place, lots of the business stuff. So I wrote a business plan, because there was more comfort in writing a business plan than actually getting it out there and doing it. I was a bit scared. knew how to write a business plan, or majority of it. But COVID has been interesting because it changed everything for me. And I had to learn social media, which I'd hated before, but I've realized is an amazing tool if used correctly. And I've met some amazing people on it. And having online sales platforms like yours is, I would not have thought of using them for. I thought I'd do face-to-face stuff. I've become much more comfortable during COVID with that online sales idea. It's amazing. And you reach so many more people, and you can still connect to them in a way I didn't think you could. So I've learned a lot during COVID about pushing my boundaries, getting familiar with technology, trying things, and and connecting with people in a very different way. It's been fantastic. I wouldn't change it for the world.
To ask you that question, how has COVID impacted you? Good, bad, positively?
To begin with, I think everybody, I'm making an assumption, but at the start it was pretty hard. Everybody kind of went into lockdown. I got no business, but it gave me a really good amount of time to focus on what I truly wanted to do and rethink my plans, really hone my technique. And as we came out of that first phase, I felt much more confident and able to do it. So I really ramped up social media, became much more familiar with it, and it took off. It's been amazing. I'm not making a profit yet, but hey, it's the first year. And I know, and that's the thing actually, having that time at the start of COVID gave me time to calm down and really think about what I wanted. And I now know it will take me more time, lots of investment of my own energies, but I love that. It's totally mine. It took me a long time, and COVID has helped to get my head around the fact I run my own business. I am my own boss, and I can do things that I want to do and not follow other people's rules. And so it's been great for that. It has been great for that.
That is actually quite amazing. You've managed to look at the positive out of a very, very challenging situation. But in pre-COVID days, when you were thinking of putting your business together, did you think your markets would be the face-to-face stalls? And is that how you envisioned yourself to set up and go?
Yes and no. I say yes and no because it terrified me. Meeting people, oh my God, I'm an artist, I like hiding. But I thought that was the model that you had to do and use to be successful. And I realize that's not true now. I'd like to do some of that, but in more workshop form. I think sales online, I'm much more comfortable with, and I think it gives people a choice. I would like to build up some local connections, but there are other ways of doing that, like we said, workshops and meeting people in that way, definitely.
The reason I was asking the question was I was curious to see if you'd done any research on the routes to market and what sort of success rate did people have, or other jewelers have, by selling in stalls and craft fairs and things like that, or did they actually have a better return on investment when they did online? I was just curious to see what your thoughts were.
I think it's mixed. I think from what my research showed, which is why I seriously considered going down the craft route, is that it's a really good way to get known and to get a following of dedicated people who like your work, because people love to touch and hold jewelry. They love to see what it makes them feel and how it might look on them. But I think once you've got past that stage in the past, then going online was probably the way to do it, with a mix of in-person presence and that online sales platform. I think that's changed actually throughout COVID. I think it's a very saturated market for jewelers online, and so face-to-face kind of helped you stand out, but I think if you put the time and energy in now to stand out and choose where you choose to do that, then you can have more success. And it's slowly flipping a little bit to having more success online. At least I hope it is, because I love it.
I would agree 100% with you, because I think the return on investment on going online is just so much higher. You do need the face-to-face connection, but then you are limited to a very small local area. With jewelry being a market that's oversaturated, as you said, but still, of the 3 billion in the craft industry, jewels still have the biggest share of it. So having said that, so it is both good and bad. I think it's whether you want to put it in the opportunity side or you want to put it in the threat side, is how you feel on a particular day. You might wake up feeling really great, and that's an opportunity, and you might wake up feeling crap, and it's oh, everybody is doing it. So from that point of view, I do think in a very selfish way that online has always, or should and can be utilized in a more effective way if people put in the time and the effort. And one of the main things in that is your photography.
I was about to say that. Good photography and a good imagery with it. And I'm still learning, as you know, I'm still learning with that and trying to get that right. But you have to be willing to experiment with that. Absolutely. I would also say the other benefit, and it's a very, well, I found it a really good benefit, is you don't have to hold as much stock.
Yeah.
And for somebody working with precious metals and potentially gemstones, if you go to a market, you need a lot of stock in hand to be able to take and to make it look like it's worthwhile to buy from. That can be really expensive and off-putting when you're starting out. You just might not have that capital. So I think being online allows you to be creative, try out different things without necessarily investing in so much stock. So good photography as well, but yeah, it has definite advantages for those starting out in terms of stock.
Stock is a big thing, and I suppose on artisanry that was one of the first things I always say to people: don't hold stock, just put a portfolio. Yeah. And people have to learn to wait, because this is handmade. It cannot be at your doorstep tomorrow morning. For that, you go to Amazon, and you know, if you're coming to us, then you have to wait. Simple as that. There is absolutely no doubt about it. So brilliant. You know, and the last thing I wanted to ask you, you know, we've touched on the sustainability part of it. Your material that you use is already something that is being recycled, and you love nature, and you know, it's all stacking up. What about your packaging, your shipping? You know, how do you sort of ensure from that point of view that you have the right sustainable model for your you know, the supply chain side of things?
Mm-hmm. I'm still working on it, I would say, and it's all part of the journey. But I have my boxes, which I think are pretty glamorous, and they're recycled and recyclable. Still look really good. So I use this amazing bamboo silk to tie up my boxes, because I think it's really important to look luxurious, even if you're being sustainable. So this is a sustainable product. It will biodegrade. I am vegan. I don't talk about it much, but this for me is a better product because it's much more environmental and animal welfare issues. So I take that into account, and it's just gorgeous.
Bamboo silk. I come from India. I've heard of all sorts of silk. I've obviously never heard.
It's a new thing, apparently. Yeah, it's made from bamboo.
I'm going to check it out. That sounds very interesting.
Beautiful. It's beautiful. Yeah, and this is made by an artisan in this country. It's vegetable dyed, so it's no chemicals go into it. Love it. I send all my all of that in recycled cardboard boxes in the post with tissue paper instead of and no plastic is used, because it's really important that people can reuse that material or get rid of it sustainably.
Yes.
Or recycle it. That's really important. And I do that with everything. So all the chemicals I use in my process are things that can be disposed of easily, that don't have any impact on the environment. That's really, really important to me. Like I say, I'm still learning. There's, I'm sure, more to do, but it's a process. And if anybody has ideas, I'd love to hear them.
I'm going to ask you one last question. You know, the back of the, where you put the earrings, that little, have you cracked it, and do you have something that is sustainable rather than plastic?
Oh my God, I wish you hadn't asked. That's the bit I'm struggling with. Yeah. So I'm looking at the moment. I was quite disappointed when I got my boxes, because I thought it was a sustainable interior, and it's not. And so I'm currently researching that.
So am I. And if I find something, I will tell you, because that's the one thing that I've spoken to every jeweler, and every jeweler has the same problem. So either we find a solution or we start manufacturing it ourselves.
That would be perfect.
Yeah.
And to still get that beautiful luxury feel that brings. Yeah, that'd be great. I know some people use wood, wool, and things like that.
I have to find that out. Yeah. Let's keep researching on that, because I think that's one part of the box that everybody struggles with. and hasn't found a solution yet. So let's keep looking for it, and when we find it, maybe tell everybody about it.
We will shout it from the hilltops. Yeah, no, absolutely. This is what I mean. It's all a learning process, and hopefully some manufacturers out there are hearing us, because I think that's what consumers want. I do feel slightly embarrassed when I send things out and I've said it's as much recycled or recyclable material as possible, and it's still got that bit in it. Yeah.
No, that's
so my duty would be great.
As a small maker, the responsibility sort of lies more heavily at your doorstep than anybody else's. One, because you're never going to throw stuff away because it is expensive, and two, people just expect that much more from an independent local maker. So unfortunately, and you care about the environment, and that's what your jewelry represents. So you can't obviously send it off in a box that's made of material that can't be disposed of environmentally. So absolutely, it was really great having a chat. We've had some really nice people listening to us as well, but thank you for your time. Thank you very much this afternoon. Love your jewelry. I'm going to look it up, your oak leaf cufflinks, again and think about it.
Brilliant. No, it's been wonderful talking to you, Pavna. Have a great afternoon, and thank you for this.
Bye-bye. Thank you, everybody. Cheers.
Bye. Bye, everyone.
Rosalind's just sent a note for you. I'll send it on to you. She said it's called Kingscroft Logistics. They do some bespoke packaging. Kingscroft. There you go. Let's try and find out.
Brilliant. Thank you, Rosalind.
Brilliant. Thank you, everybody. Thanks, Rosalind. Cheers. Bye. Thanks.
Bye.
Bye.